What up is Marcus Dynasty Dads? We are going to take the 4 players that I think are going to be dark horses to finish number 1 overall in their position. We have a quarterback, a running back, a wide receiver, and a tight end. These are players that are not currently, that of course, they're going to be a little bit dark horses. They're going to be, some of them are going to be a little extra risky. I'll give you a percent chance that I think they're going to be the number 1 overall at their position. We're going to start off at the quarterback position. It is my man, Trevor Lawrence. He had 4,113 yards, 25 touchdowns, 8 interceptions. He gets Calvin Ridley back. He also has Christian Kirk. He gets Evan Ingram. He's got Travis Etienne in the backfield. He's got Davis Bigsby. Honestly, I think that Jacksonville as a whole, this reminds me a lot of even your Dak Prescott days where the defense is just not as good, and I see a lot of shootout games. In the AFC, you're going to have to score a lot of points. Cincinnati has a good defense. Kansas City has, at times, good defenses, usually towards the second half of the year. Buffalo has a good defense, but somehow Josh Allen just keeps scoring because of his rushing ability as well. I think Trevor Lawrence, I'm going to give it like a 15% chance. But I think that he is a dark horse to finish a lot higher than where he's being drafted. Of these guys, they're higher than where I think that consensus is. But honestly, I think that Trevor Lawrence has that dark horse ability. He has the talent, he has the weapons around him, and he had that huge sophomore jump without the stupid Urban Meyer situation behind him. I feel like this could be the chance that Trevor Lawrence could be the number 1 quarterback in fantasy. And let's say I'm wrong, and he finishes 3 behind Mahomes and Allen, and he becomes number 3, or 4 behind Hurts. I still think that's going to be a very successful year. He was a top 10 quarterback this last year. I think Trevor Lawrence, I could see him at 5,000 yards, 35 touchdowns. I think that could easily be a jump that Trevor Lawrence makes. And again, 15% chance. The next one. I've been doing a lot of redraft stuff and just trying to figure out, okay, so you have Christian McCaffrey, you have Austin Eckler, you have those RB1, RB2. Who is the RB3 really that I'm feeling confident? Because CMC has been an RB1 overall. You look at Austin Eckler, he's been a number 1 overall running back the last 2 years basically combined, and he's I think he was number 2 the year prior, but then number 1, so he's been basically the best running back over the last 24 months. Who is the guy that I think could finish there? And I'm going to give him probably a 30% chance, so a decent chance. It's Bijan Robinson. I think Bijan Robinson has, the gifted ability and talent that generations we can talk about. You're talking about Saquon Barkley ability, potentially even better than Saquon Barkley coming out of college. I mean, Saquon was known as a generational talent. Bijan, he's just that great, and Atlanta wants to run the football. You saw that in Tyler Algier, who had 1,000 yards. Cordell Patterson was a top 5 fantasy running back. Yes, Cordell Patterson. And so Bijan Robinson has the ability to be a 3-down workhorse running back, and they can't throw the ball very well because Desmond Ritter's not the greatest passer. So they do have talent in Drake London. They do have talent in Kyle Pitts, but I think those offense goes through Bijan Robinson. They're going to run the football through Carolina, through Tampa Bay, through New Orleans. That division is not strong at all, and I think Bijan Robinson is going to lead the way there. And so I'm gonna say I think Bijan Robinson has almost a third of a chance. And 30% it's putting it out on a limb, but I think he has that, because I mean it's really hard to repeat as back-to-back number 1 overall Austin Eckler. And I think that Christian McCaffrey could do it, but man, there are times where I look at the Elijah Mitchell situation and Christian McCaffrey is always hurt. I have more and more question marks. The difference in redraft between CMC and Bijan to me is so negligible that it's like, okay, there's 3 awesome running backs in redraft. It's Bijan, Eckler, and Christian McCaffrey, but there's not much of a difference between the 3 in my opinion. Bijan, I'm that confident in, and after I kept going through these drafts, I'm like, why am I feeling so confident? Like, I'm feeling so much more confident in Bijan Robinson than I am like a Jonathan Taylor, even previous to this trade news and all that. So the wide receiver I'm going to go with, and I think this is the riskiest. I will give him a 8% chance. It's risky because you have Jamar Chase, you have Justin Jefferson, you have Cooper Kupp, you have a great myriad. Does that mean a lot? You have a great variety. You have a great variety of awesome receivers at this point. It's going to be very hard to dethrone one of those, but it's going to be Garrett Wilson for me. He finished as wide receiver 21. He had 83 for 1103 and 4. Now you are saying that was with Mike White. No offense to Mike White. With Zach Wilson, who couldn't throw the ball to save his life, and some of Joe Flacco-ness in there. It was just a mess at quarterback. 1,600 yards, and if you say that Wilson is going to be the red zone threat there, maybe Lazard ends up being a little bit more of a pest than we think. But Garrett Wilson has that chance, that 8% chance that Rodgers is going to just use him like Devontae Adams. Now, Devontae Adams is an extremely talented route runner and wide receiver, especially in the red zone. But you're just looking at tape through Garrett Wilson, you can say he looks similar to Devontae Adams. And Devontae Adams, again, had a stretch that was just unstoppable points per game wise. I mean, he was the number one wide receiver at times. So overall, in fantasy, and I think Garrett Wilson has that chance. Now, again, you put him in the top 5. I think that's not an easy jump. I think that's a very doable jump for Garrett Wilson. The next one is tough. Tight end. What you're probably thinking going, well, how do you get a dark horse for tight end? Because really, a dark horse tight end means anybody besides Travis Kelce at this point, because Travis Kelce is the odds-on favorite. I mean, I would probably put it at like a 70% chance that Travis Kelce repeats at tight end 1 overall. The thing is injury. I'm going to do it with the guy that actually did it before. It is going to be Mark Andrews. And I know that's not necessarily a limb, but I think Mark Andrews finishes as a top 2 tight end. Even if the 70% happens for Travis Kelce, I think Mark Andrews is tight end too. I think he takes over TJ Hawkinson. Just look at some of the poor quarterback play again that he had. I think Lamar is a better quarterback for Mark Andrews. And so he had 1,361 yards and 9 touchdowns in 2021. He was first overall, beat Travis Kelce. But then we look at last year, 5 games under 33 yards. It wasn't like he was not targeted. He just couldn't get he just couldn't get catchable balls. And that was the problem. He was getting good targets. He just couldn't get passes that were in his area. And he had no touchdowns after week 6. It just shows how much basically Baltimore was on the struggle bus. They couldn't give him a touchdown after week 6. He still finishes the top 5 tight end. He is going to be the number 2 tight end, I believe, taken off the board. TJ Hawkinson was the number 2 tight end last year. I think that Mark Andrews dethrones him at least and really puts a threat into Travis Kelce. Now, Travis Kelce is just that darn good. Doesn't matter how old apparently he is. We were saying, like, let's sell him 3 years ago, and he's still chugging along, and I just don't know. He has Patrick Mahomes, and Patrick Mahomes just relies on 8-7 there just so much. So Mark Andrews, I mean, if you told me deeper sleeper, like if you said you have to go deeper than that, it's so hard. Just there's no one else out there. I mean, I look at I'm like, well, maybe Darren Waller comes in with a resurgence, but I just don't believe his health can hold up. And Daniel Jones can't throw the football for 1,300 yards and 9 touchdowns to a tight end. And I can't see that. There just is not anybody else out there. TJ Hawkinson doesn't have the high extreme upside because you have Justin Jefferson, you have Jordan Addison, you have Alexander Madison. You have too many weapons to feed there. There's not much else out there. What Kyle Pitts? I just don't think they're going to run through the ball through. I think they're going to run it through Bijan Robinson. There's just no tight ends out there besides Mark Andrews and Travis Kelce that I have any confidence in. George Kittle would be the only one that you could think, and he can definitely put a hot stretch together, which we've seen at times with Brock Purdy. But again, you're going to have to look at probably a CMC, probably a Debo injury, which at this point are not super unlikely. So just as options, those would be the 4 dark horse number 1 overalls that I think. Oh, and Mark Andrews' chance, I'm going to give him like a 27% chance. So Travis Kelce gets 70, Mark Andrews gets 27, and the rest of the field gets 3%. And that's probably being generous for the rest of the field. All right, this is Marcus Nice with Ads. Peace out. Take care. We'll see you again very soon.